If there's one thing I've learned as an Israelite, yeah, we've got to keep the commandment. I was tired of being fed up, so I got the Bible and opened it up, yeah. And I saw that I was living wrong, wilding out, yes I was. Now I do my best to follow these laws, yeah. And I decided I would stop playing games. I don't want to be the same.
I'll pray real quick. Okay, I'll pray. Yep, so Heavenly Father, bless us as we come together another Shabbat, Heavenly Father, to edify your words of the truth, Heavenly Father. Touch us all, Heavenly Father, the ones that's here, the ones that's not here, Heavenly Father, the ones that desire to come today, Heavenly Father, all the ones that are going through it right now, Heavenly Father. Touch us all, Heavenly Father. Your Son's name is cited, so be it. So be it. I just got a couple of announcements, but I know we don't have our building yet, so we stress for time. So first thing, Sister Adura, she's our treasury. Anybody have a gift, offer anything, when we come in, but we are trying to get a building. We're going to let everybody know that she's Sister, if you don't know Sister Adura, she's the treasury. So any gifts, any offer, anything, mention to her, give it to her. Second thing, Brother Glenn know how to sing. So I just found this out that he can hum great. We do want to praise the Most High. We want to praise and sing hymns, according to getting that building. So we want to touch bases on that and let him start off us, certain time we come together as a hymn and sing praises to the Most High. And you're excited, okay? Third thing, Brother Yuko, we like to finish all topics without interruption. So we want to make sure that, because the main reason is we still don't have our location yet, so we stress for time. So he may have 2 hours to try to bring out the topic, and a lot of times he don't bring out the topic for a question that don't have anything to do with the topic. So we want to stay in topic every Shabbat and let him bring out his topic. He should have to bring the topic out this Shabbat, then have to finish it out the next Shabbat, then keep going and going and going and going and going. That's not order, Now that also we want to have the viewers that's watching our channel on YouTube that when they sit down and see that we got a topic on hand, that we finish that topic, we're not feeding the sheep also because we're jumping, going too many directions, too many places, this and that, instead of the topic that he want to bring out. So we need to get that in order, okay? Third thing, Sister Vanessa, Sister Vanessa, we want to support our family as she's doing all the garments and this and that, our shirts, our dresses and all that stuff. Like I said, we can spend money with another person, another location, whatever, but we want to keep it amongst the family. We want to stop supporting other nations, especially other nations, and support this family as growth and like our garments and stuff like that. And anybody else that wants to support in that, with Sister Vanessa and doing the garments, we want to support, our family also. Sister Nagita also, according to any other thing that we could support DOC asking, I want her, she's not here today, but I want her to be the person that, if we got any other ideas like Sister, you come up with ideas that could support us, we go to Sister Nagita that we help out and say, okay, I want to do this for DOC, the nation, the family. I want to start doing this, let's start doing this and that. So I want a discussion on all that, because there's a lot of other things everybody can get a position to help out, in this walk, okay? And the day after class, I send the text out, we're going to go out and feed the sheep. So the day after class, everybody that want to go out to the park with us and hand out flyers, talk to the lost sheep on the Shabbat day, go out and edify the word, this and that. And it feels good to go out, wake up Israelites, if talking to another Israelite that's looking for, how to get to the kingdom that don't know who they are. We want to take this opportunity to go out this Shabbat, after class, go out and give out flyers to the lost sheep of Israel. And that's my announcement. Brother Vince talked to me last week. He had something to say, so I want him to bring out. And from now on, if we got an announcement before we start with an announcement, anybody got something to say, anything I want to bring up, before we start class, I want the announcement to be brought out. like I said last week, Brother Vince had 2 things that he had on his mind, so I want him to speak whatever announcement that he had.
Well, one was just, what we're supposed to wear in the Bible. Yes, we're supposed to wear white. Okay. The other one was, what was it?
Said something about the name?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was thinking about changing the name. Okay, just because we're a more peaceful, Israelite group, and the other ones are known to be radical and kind of, the words have a lot of power. Okay, and the reason I was thinking of that is because defenders of commandments sounds kind of partially militant. It doesn't sound peaceful and in the right direction. So I was thinking, if you guys want to come up with something that sounds, more righteous, something like maybe Pathfinders or, something like that, something that gives an idea that we are peaceful as well as seeking the righteous.
That's a good thought, because like you're saying, because you got so many groups out there, so many, you might call them schools or whatever they call themselves, and defenders does mean, in a sense, to people fighting, or something of that nature, and we want to have it where like you're saying, that we need to be more reaching out instead of defending.
Or something that conveys we're after the truth.
Exactly.
The Israelite truth finders, or something, to that effect that, gets across a more positive attitude, a more positive outlook on what we're trying to get across.
And that's something I think it's going to take some time for us to get together and get that,
I want to weigh in on that right there. I sympathize with y'all brothers, and I understand what y'all trying to say. But let's go to first Philippians first. This name that we have was given to us by Yahweh. Number one, first and foremost. First Philippians. Let's go to First Philippians. We're going to start at 12.
First Philippians?
Yep, First Philippians.
Philippians.
Oh, Philippians 1.
And we're going to read down. It says, but I would eat. Should everybody have it? Everybody there yet?
What chapter?
First Philippians. I'm going to start at 12. I would read the whole thing, but I'm short some time. Well, Philippians 1. Excuse me. Philippians 1. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Philippians 1. I start at 7. I'm going to read all the way down till we get to Yeshaya tell me to stop. Okay? It says, even as it is meet for me, I'm starting at 7. Meet for me to think this of you all, because I have you in my heart, inasmuch as both in my bonds and in the defense, clearly say defense, right? Defense and confirmation of the gospel, ye are all partakers of my favor. For Yahweh is my record, how greatly I long after you all in the bowels of Yeshua HaMashiach. And this I pray, that your love may abound yet more and more in knowledge and in all judgment, that ye may approve things that are excellent, that ye may be sincere and without offense till the day of Yeshua.
You ever the offense, you got the defensive. So we're in defense because the word, the offense is being the offenses of the preachers and teachers. Go ahead.
Being filled with the fruits of righteousness which are by Yeshua HaMashiach unto the glory and praise of Yahweh. But I would ye should understand, brethren, that the things which happen unto me have fallen out rather unto the furtherance of the gospel, turned out, the way things turned out, including that name, so that my bonds in Yeshua are manifest in all the palace and in all other places. And many of the brethren in Yeshua, waxing confident, and my bonds are much more bold to speak the word without fear. Some indeed preach Yeshua, Hamashiach, even of envy and strife, and some also of goodwill. Well, we ain't speaking this word in negative. We're not trying to be like everybody else. You know, he said we're holy and set apart of the defense of the gospel. And he says defense in him twice. Let's carry on. He says the one preach Hamashiach of contention and not sincerely, supposing to add affliction to my bonds. We're bringing out truth. We're not dealing with our own self-ambition. We're not in chains anymore because we awoke. He says, but the other of love, knowing that I am set for the defense of the gospel. I mean, this is appointed. This is appointed to us. And that defense of commandments is appointed to us as well. Period, point blank. If you go to Psalm 61, you'll know. Go to Psalm 61 for a minute.
Hold space here. Hold space here.
No, you good. You good. I mean, it's clearly, I see defense in there 2 times. And I mean, we Psalm. This is a heritage that we have. And the Father gave it to us.
Psalm 61.
Yeah, Psalm 61, brother. Let's go to 5. He says, for, everyone has it. He says, for thou, O Yahweh, hast heard my vows. Thou hast given me the heritage. The heritage is something from old, right? Something from the beginning. The heritage of those that fear my name. Just like he gave us the defenders of commandments, he gave us his name, and vice versa. So that name is sealed. It was an appointed name given us before time. It was already preordained for us to have that name. Sister Nagita bought that name out and gave it to her. And believe me, I trust in her word. So that name, Defenders of Commandments, DOC, it's going to remain the same. If I got any objection from my brothers, I need to know that. I just feel that that's spirit of truth. Yeah, I understand. And I respectfully understand what you're saying. But at that day we made that name, and sister or brother wife was there. Brother was there. Everybody was there. We see how that name came about. And it was a kind of like an amazement. Go ahead.
You got commandments, defenders of commandments. So we want to defend the commandments. We're defending what the world calls. You got a lot of Israelites that they don't defend the commandments. They defend their doctrine. They just defend Pharisees, Sadducees doctrine. But we want to defend the commandments of higher. And that's what we came with the name, defenders of commandments, because we want to defend it. Because you got so many people saying they're Israelite, but they don't fear the commandments. We want to defend his name and his commandments. You know, because you got defenders for all kinds of mess, but we want to defend his truth. You know what I'm saying? That's how we came up with that name, defending the truth. You really want to just be like Israel this or Israel that. We want to defend something that's most precious that Ahia gave us. That's the commandments. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with that 100%. It's just that a lot of times we have to elaborate sometimes. Elaborate a little farther because, you know, we are defending the commandments. I agree with that 100%. And the name, I agree with the name. Because when my wife and I first saw the name, when we first started, you know, attending it, I like that. Defenders of the commandments. Well, all the commandments, it said defenders of the commandments. I like that. It's just that, I don't know, like he was saying, all the other, so many camps got this, you know, hate, and they are so rude, you know, and they're not really defending the commandments. They're not, so that's why
they're not on defense.
Exactly.
See, offense means you willing to support in whatever thing thrown away, whatever doctrine you ever gave, and you're gonna run the play that the coach said. Well, I coach something that's a different playbook. He's something that's the playbook of defense. Stand up for me. These words mean something, but they know it or not. This means something to me. Because it woke me up, woke a lot of us up, and gave us what we standing for. What you standing for. I don't want to be knowing the pathfinders, because the path, we've been off the path a long time. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, I'm just saying.
I know you were just throwing it out there, but if it was something else to sit there and it was done in his will, because I feel that day it was done in his will. It was his will that brought us to the table. You was there, sister. You seen that. You was there, brother. We seen this. It happened right before our eyes. And I was like, wow.
I was trying to call his name, but
Yeah,
all I had was defenders. That was all I had, defenders.
Yeah.
This and that, we sideline, this and that, whatever. And I had lone defenders of this and that, this and that, this and that. We sideline, prayed on it. That thing, you know, the leader said, no, defenders of commandments. And that's,
And go to say what the brothers did. What all these brothers did to him. Acts 4. Well, how many brothers in there talk about and defend the gospel? They defend the gospel.
If you're not with me, you're against me.
That's right.
you're going to defend it.
Absolutely.
And think about it. Think about it. The commandments is love. So defending the commandments is about loving your brothers and sisters. So we defend the commandments as love your brothers and sisters. Those camps, they're not love at all.
No.
So you defend the commandments. Commandments are all about loving your sister, loving your brother, loving your neighbor, all that kind of stuff right there. We defend it. We'll set apart from those camps that preach. They Israelite 12 tribes, law, statute, commandments. They preach law, statute, commandments, but they don't preach that they defend it. Because they actually go against it. We preach that we defenders of the commandments, which was given to us, which is holy and set apart.
That's right. All praise to Yahweh.
It's just like we were talking this morning before we came in here. When you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, you come up with a way to show that the reason you're doing it. It's like
Pacify.
it's like
Pacifying.
Exactly. Like when the brother said, he is not doing wrong. and he asked, did he have a scripture for that? To show that he's not doing wrong by working on the Sabbath.
But I see it with my own eyes. And like we on camera, but I'm see it with my own eyes. It's not right. That's I'm gonna leave it like that. Because when you see people coming in there half dressed, not in modest apparel, and you inviting this, and you're not even trying to wake nobody up, you know.
No.
And you out of order already by working that day, you know. And call yourself right, you can't. That's like a conundrum.
Yeah.
You know, either you're gonna be on the right side or you're gonna be on the wrong side. You ain't gonna get no right out of wrong, you ain't get no wrong out of right. You're just wrong, brother.
But see, because if you're not defending the commandments, when they come in that dress, like you condoning it.
That's right. So that's where that defense stand up again.
These seats are made up. These seats is not to condemn a sister when they come in here, just to introduce them why, you know what I'm saying, modesty, this and that. Because we just make these seats up for, like this, for example, you want to talk to a sister that come in, you say, sister, you modest, this and that, whatever, they come in dressed a certain way. This is just presentation of just showing them, having a piece of paper to speak. And so you speaking so many words, just give them a paper, let them read themselves, this and that, and they ask you a question, and you tell them. A lot of people, women be like, well, I don't want to feel like I'm trying to force her to dress this way or force her to be that way. We can just introduce it to them by just giving them, you know, by showing them to let them read themselves. And then they'll understand. Then they got a question, they can talk to the sister. This is why we, you know, make it easy on conversation with sister, so they feel comfortable.
Let me ask you a question. Now, I like this, but if you hand this out to somebody in the street, they don't have no way of contacting anybody.
Well, that's for us as in here, as in the room, because I know when we have like guests coming in and they dress a certain way, women come in, this is just something short that you can hand to her, say that to your sister, this is why you, this and that, she can look at it herself, and this and that, whatever, and so to feel she getting, when the sister come and put it to the side, say, sister, you this and that, you this and that, whatever. And so you going with your own mouth, you just to slide it to her and let her look at it herself and this and that. That's why do that up.
Okay, that's good. I just didn't.
Yeah, that's not really for going out. Now we have them as we going out. We give them to sisters just for them to read this up. But our flyers, I put on everybody's desk the flyers that we give it out today.
sign this on that?
This is the flag right here.
Oh, okay.
Should I have put up?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Where's my name?
You got some in there?
Yeah, everybody got some?
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't get one. Okay. Thank you.
that was an issue.
Go ahead, you got it, brother. Let's use some of this, I got some mic.
Second that, about the whole name and everything. I'm gonna have to say we are sticking with that name for the reason, I know we may think that, you know, we know not think that, we know that we're set apart assembly. We know we're set apart from the rest of the other camps. You know, some even come in here and say that we're too soft, you know. But we teach according to the word of the Father. You know, it's not about to make somebody feel good. Now, our ancestors were, they had order, right? They were in a military setting. In heaven, there's a military setting. See, there's going to come a time where we are going to get given over to the enemy, no matter what we call ourselves. We call ourselves defenders of commandments. We call ourselves a name that seems less militant. It doesn't matter. The scriptures say that we're going to lose power to them for a time. We're going to lose power to them for a time. There's nothing you can do about that. See? So we're going to stick to the name that we have, defenders of commandments. One thing you know that how we are set apart and not boasting is that when you put our name backwards, as says defenders of commandments, COD, we cast out demons in here.
All praise to Yahweh.
See, the Father gave us that authority. You don't really see other camps doing that. You can't do that if you got hate on your heart. See, you can't do that if you're unclean.
That's right.
Right? The Father put us in this position. You know, He gave us His name. You know, He gave us a lot of authority, believe it or not. You know, some other camps may have more members than us, but scriptures clearly say that I'm going to be a small sanctuary to you than where you have been scattered. You can say you're going to be a large sanctuary.
I'll put the arrow to that. We just talked about that this morning about the small suit. Didn't we talk about that?
Yeah.
We may have more members come, which they will, you know, but we may not be as big as some of the names out there. But one thing we are going to do, we are going to teach truth. We are going to tell our people the truth. If strangers want to cleave to us, the scriptures say they're going to cleave to us, we're going to teach them the truth. Whether it's uncomfortable or not, the truth is the truth. They got to hear it. If they remain, we do not treat them bad. See, that's the difference between us and the other Israelites. The Father's not playing with none of us. He will destroy you. He is not playing. So, with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to do a quick recap. We're not going to go too deep into the lessons in the past, but what I want everybody to understand something is that even too, I had my doubts about New Testament at one point. I would hear people say that it's been tampered with, you know, that, you know, Paul is a liar, he's a false prophet. And we done heard all kind of things, right? And if you notice that Christians, they live in New Testament. They may go in the Old Testament and grab a little bit out of Psalms and they want to preach from that. Or they'll grab a verse here and preach from that. And then say, oh, this means this means that. Or replacement theology, right? When we're going in today, it's going to lead up to today's topic. We're going to hold off on about the flesh, the dangers of the flesh. We're going to hold off on that because we need to establish something about the Bible again. Now, some Christians will tell you that they see Jesus, right? Or Yeshua has chosen a new nation, right? Now, we know that's a lie. That it chose a new nation from among the nations. The nation that he is dealing with are Israelites. But we're going to show you how to prove that. Another word of today's lesson is called the bridegroom. And the bride. Who is the bride? Who is the bridegroom? See, there's a lot of parables and stuff in the scriptures. And a lot of misinformation that's going on out there. Right? So, classes in the past, we have been talking about who the 12 tribes are. Again, in the New Testament, you almost don't hear them at all. You don't hear nobody bring up about the 12 tribes. You only hear Jews. Jews this, Jews that. You may hear Benjamin, but you won't hear anybody else. You won't hear nobody from Asher. You won't hear nobody from Issachar. And like we was talking about that. All of Israel are not Jews. Say it again in the third class again. All of Israel are not Jews. Jews come from one tribe. Just one tribe. Right? Let's do a quick recap. Let's go to Jeremiah 3 real quick. Right? And we're going to open up the class right there. This will be the recap on that. So we're going to go to Jeremiah chapter 3. Jeremiah 3. We're going to go 1 and 2.
Everyone has it? Jeremiah 3, verse 1. Got you, brother. They say, if a man put away his wife, and she go from him, and become another's man's, shall he return unto her again? Shall not that land be greatly polluted? But thou hast played the harlot with many lovers. Yet return again to me, saith Yahweh.
Now, this first verse right here is a question being asked. It says, they say, if a man put away his wife, right? Now, we know that the Most High is married to Israel, right? As a whole. He's married to the 12 tribes, right? He said, if a man puts away his wife, and she goes from him and become another man, shall he return unto her again? So that's the question. Can that husband take that wife back? That's the question that's being presented right here in Jeremiah. And it says, shall not that land be greatly polluted? Another question. But thou hast played the harlot. Who has played the harlot?
Israel.
Israel. Israel done played the harlot, right? Because they had many lovers. Many lovers, that mean they have other gods. They took those gods as their husbands. They married them. It says, and the father said, yet return again to me, says Ahijah. Now, that sounds like a contradiction, right? Because if you take that wife back after that, it pollutes the land, right? So that sounds like a contradiction. Now, we know how the law goes in Deuteronomy 24, 1 through 4, right? Let's get that again. See, we have to understand the spiritual part of it. See, when you look at this from a physical point and look at it from the world's eyes, it's going to look like homosexuality or something, right? It do. They have some people come at you like, well, what is God doing, marrying a bunch of men? And it's not talking about that. Jerusalem or Israel is sometimes considered as a woman. We're going to bring out a parable today, a very powerful parable. And I'm going to show you what he's talking about, right? We're going to go to Deuteronomy 24, verses 1 through 4 real quick.
24.
24, 1 through 4, right? And I said these just some older scriptures that we went over in the class a few weeks ago. But we have to understand something, how the law works, how Torah works. If you go to Paul, remember Paul was always referring back to the Torah. He's always referring back to the prophets. So are the other disciples. They didn't have what you call New Testament in those days. So they had to be referring from somewhere. And believe it or not, a lot of them even referring back to what they call the Apocrypha, because that was part of the scriptures. They didn't have a Bible, what we have the Bible now. They had scrolls. They had books. See? We just have it conveniently condensed down, you know. Let's go over that real quick, brother.
Deuteronomy 24, verse 1. When a man hath taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he has found some uncleanliness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement.
Okay, now we know the father found some uncleanliness in his wife, meaning she took other husbands, other gods. This is how the father was viewing Israel. Keep going, brother.
And give it in her hand and send her out of his house. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife.
Okay, but before that happened, Israel didn't do that. Israel went out and got other husbands. Before that bill of divorce was written, the father said, come back to me. They said no, they justified it. So then he wrote them a bill of divorce and sent them out of the house. That means what? You are cut off. That means you're a broken off branch. You're no longer part of the family. Right? And we go back up here to verses 1, it's a little part right here at the very bottom. It says, write her bill of divorce, give it in her hand and send her out of the house. Verse 2, it says, and when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. Right? So now she's free to do what she wants. Right? But Israel didn't do that. Israel was still married when Israel did that. So that makes Israel a what? An adulterer. Harlot. Now, we know according to law in Exodus, adultery is punishable by what? Death. The 10 tribes had death on them. Y'all need to understand that. They had death marked on them. This is why the Jews, Judah, the tribe of Judah, we ain't had no dealings with the other 10. We looked at them like heathens, Gentiles. We had no dealings with them. We didn't care. Because they knew what they did and they justified what they did. Now, we did our dirt too. But we didn't justify it. See? Let's see. Keep going, brother. We're on verse 3.
And if the latter husband hate her, and write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and sendeth her out of his house, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife, her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife. After that, she is defiled. For that is an abomination before Yahweh, and thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which Ahijah giveth thee for an inheritance.
We on Deuteronomy chapter 24.
Shalom, sister.
Yes, shalom, sisters. Yep. Deuteronomy chapter 24, 1 through 4. All right.
Can you hear that?
We can go back over that verse one more time.
Okay.
We're going to start at verses 1, and we're going to read down slow. So the whole purpose of this, so everybody can get the understanding of this, right? Because when you understand the law and you understand what the Father's talking about, you're going to ask yourself, is the Father contradicting his own law? See? Is he? No. Right? We'll start with
Deuteronomy 24, verse 1. Mm-hmm. Deuteronomy 24, verse 1. When a man has taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he has found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and send her out of his house. Mm-hmm. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. Mm-hmm. And if the latter husband hate her, and write her a bill of divorcement, and giveth it in her hand, and sendeth her out of his house, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife, her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife. After that, she is defiled, for that is an abomination before Ahijah. And thou shalt not cause the land to sin.
Okay. So we know that Israel, again, was married to the Father, right? Or the Father was married to Israel. Israel, before God a bill of divorce, went off and married other gods. So finally, when the Father found uncleanness in Israel, cut that branch off. He could not take that branch back. But however, the Father promised, said, you will always be my people forever, right? I want y'all to go back to verses 3. And I want y'all to look at this real close. Verse 3, brother.
And if the latter husband hate her, and write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and sendeth her out of his house.
So this is what happened to Israel. They got written a bill of divorce. They got sent out of the house. They got cut off. Not Judah now, just the house of Israel, right? The 10 tribes. They got sent off, right? Keep going, brother. That's the last part.
Or if the latter husband die.
The latter husband die. Keep that in your head. If the latter husband dies. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, can you clarify what is the uncleanness?
Uncleanness? I mean, like filth? Anything like adultery. That's like uncleanness. In those days, our ancestors were putting away their wives for any little thing. But the spiritual part of this is showing what the Father found in Israel, the filthiness. The filthiness was, they was messing around with other gods. They was doing like the things of the people in the nations. So that was like uncleanness to him. See? And then they turned around and justified it. He asked them, come back and I'm going to forgive you. They said no. Right? And they went off and did it anyway. So after that, he wrote them a bill of divorce and he cut that branch of that olive tree off. Right? That's what happened to the 10 tribes. They got cut off. They were no longer part of the family. This is why the Jews did not deal with them. They didn't have no dealings with the other 10 tribes. They were considered Gentiles. They were considered heathens, Gentile heathens. Samaritans. They didn't look at them like they were family, no longer.
The laws.
Because I noticed in Galatians, I know the Galatians, the 5th chapter, if we could turn there, it speaks the same about uncleanness. That's why I want to get a clarity on the uncleanness.
You said Galatians 5?
Correct.
Yes, I'm brother.
Okay. Also, sister, anytime you're doing anything against the Most High,
That's right.
is unclean.
That's right.
Okay, anything.
Anything.
Anything not doing thy commandments, that's transgressing the law. You transgressing the law, you in sin. You in sin.
Somebody was married to him, so if you would worship other gods, all of that, you're sinning, you're adulterous and adulteresses. Therefore, you're sinning against him. You're married to him, so the same rules according to the marriage and divorce and all that. That's what we're getting tried with. The divorce our father gave up. That's why we went in slavery captivity. That's what we was called Gentile. That's why we're going through all this mess now, because we sin against our father. He's married to us. He's married to Israel only.
Because I know that in Christianity they talk about the fruits of the Spirit, and then they come back and talk about those different different evil spirits that they don't really address and get clarity on. And one of them is unclean.
Because they're evil. They can't speak upon nothing. They don't have a blue rock inside them. They're evil. They believe in Christianity. That Christianity is false doctrine. They're not seeking truth. They're not telling truth.
Let me say this. In Christianity, they got different levels.
Yeah.
Different levels of uncleanness. They got the ones that you say, well, that's a misdemeanor. So we don't talk about these. And this one is more serious, and this is more serious, so this is the one we address.
This and that is lawlessness inside Christianity. The soothsayers, they want you to feel good. They do not want you to come to the truth. These words are spirit and truth. They'll tell you anything just so they can get that money in that bucket.
Well, the reason I even brought up the fact of the reason I brought that up is because I want to get understanding, and overstanding, because I'm not looking at Christianity. I'm speaking the truth.
Right.
And so when we talk about uncleanness, if I don't get a full, I'm sorry, I'm trying to turn it off. Okay. If I don't get an understanding for myself, then it's no better than me being in Christianity. That's the reason I'm here. Because I know if I have a question, you're going to take me to the truth, And so, glory to Yahweh and what he's doing for me, because the Ruach, the Holy Spirit, is truly working with me. And so don't get offended.
Oh, sister, excuse me. Let me just pardon for a second. There's no offense over him.
Okay.
We're going to ask a question just like Isaiah 58:1. Cry loud, spare not, show my people their transgression. So there's no offense on must behalf over him. What we're doing is trying to get clarity as just when you say clarity. Okay. Tell it how it is. Let my yea be yea and my nay be yea. Because when we step through these doors of this sanctuary, all that is outside the door. We're speaking in truth and righteousness. And brothers will come with scripture just to back that up.
Right.
So there's no none of that there.
Yeah. Let
me very say that very first and foremost.
Right.
Because we here to overstand. We ain't here to understand, underplay, and undermine for nothing about the truth.
Right.
We just talk walking in truth. So we leave the feelings out the door. We come in here, it's about your higher, sure higher. That's it. So they say if it cut you, I hope it cut you right. You know what I'm saying? And that's in love.
Right.
It's not about feelings.
Right.
Feelings and emotions get you caught up.
Right.
And we word.
Right. So that's the reason I brought the question up, brothers, because I want to get clear, not just understanding, but overstanding.
All
You
praises.
want crystal clear. Okay.
All praises.
Just like we do. Okay. So you want to know what's uncleanness, what he's talking about, or just general what's uncleanness?
Well, you know, in Galatians, in the 18th, let me see, what is that? In the 19th verse, it speaks of uncleanness again, and I just want to, get clarity.
Say 5:18.
28.
Yeah,
18.
fifth chapter. And the 19th.
19th verse. Okay.
Yes.
Start up at 16, brother.
I see that already.
Yep.
I already got it wrote down. Okay, it says Galatians 5. This is, I say then, we're starting at verse 16, family. Galatians 5, verse 16. This I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. It says, for the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh.
So this right here is showing you that your flesh is always going to be fighting with your spirit, regardless. That's that animal nature. That flesh, the flesh wants what it wants. The flesh will always be against the Father.
Yes.
Regardless of people say what they want, man, your flesh want to eat, want to have sex, you want to do everything you want to do. You got to keep it in balance. I'll show y'all something else too. When you look at Genesis, I believe it's chapter, I get that chapter. It's in Genesis about when Jacob wrestled with an angel. The deepness to that is it's showing you that his flesh will be fighting with spirit. Think about it. How you gonna beat an angel? How you gonna wrestle with an angel? An angel will knock you in two. But yet he wrestled, right? It's showing you that your flesh is always gonna be fighting with your spirit. This is where fasting comes in at. See, you have to keep your flesh in check. If you just let your flesh run rampant, you're gonna be sinning against the Father. Go ahead, brother. Keep reading. Right, you want to do that?
Okay.
That
They're going to go to get it, bro?
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
That's Genesis 28. Right?
Thanks, brother.
Okay, it says, and the spirit against the flesh. And I'm on 17, fam. And the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary the one to another. So that ye cannot do the things that ye would. But if ye be led of the spirit, ye are not under the law. Now the works of the flesh are manifest.
Which he's going to break down to you, showing you what your flesh really wants. Right? Keep going.
Which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness. 20, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, and heresies. 21, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and such like of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of Yahweh.
So when you're in your flesh, you start practicing these things. We all guilty of this. Go over a few of them. Adultery. Adultery doesn't always necessarily.
Which one?
Oh, this Galatians 5 and 16. Yeah.
We got 21 now, sis.
You got a point right there.
Adultery. Adultery doesn't always mean necessarily cheating on your actual wife. Adultery can be something like, you know that you're supposed to be serving the Father, but instead of you reading your word, what you do? I'm on my phone. It's everything else. You're not following the Father. You're cheating on him, believe it or not. See, a lot of people don't realize that. It can be anything of this world that you're running after, and that leads into lust. You got something, brother?
Yeah, as soon as you finish yours, I'm going to bring out something back to 18.
18. But if ye be led of the Spirit, ye are not under the law.
See, that's what Christianity. See, they take the Spirit, they take it wholly as roots of the Spirit. They use the same thing. This means the spirit of the flesh. That's what this is talking about.
But it got, brother, keep it up, brother.
No,
You got the fruit of the Spirit on the next behalf. We'll teach you about the fruit of the Spirit. It talks about what is the fruit of the Spirit. Well, a lot of the churches don't want to talk about that. They really don't. Because the more they keep you in desertion, the more you keep coming, the more you keep putting in their butt. Follow? And that's all it's about. Because if it was true, a lot of these churches wouldn't be having their big houses, big this, big that, if we told them the truth. They really knew what tithing and all that other stuff was about. But you go to 21 and he speaks of, brother, you got coach on this? It says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness. And meekness go a long way. He says humble and meek is the way to go. And brother Glenn just said that this morning, but what you say, brother, about the broad, yeah. Some people want to be big and broad, thinking this. No, you have to be humble and meek. What's the second one you say, brother? Narrow.
Cramped. That was cramped.
Mm-hmm.
It was cramped and hard. That's the one that leads to life.
Mm-hmm.
And narrow and cramped. Very few will be on it.
Let's go back up, because I don't want to go to the fruit of the Spirit yet. I really want to.
Okay, you want to stay on that, bro?
Yeah, what happens is we want to manifest this to her and bring it out in the word, because you go back to 19 and said, now the works of the flesh is manifest. Now you know what we're talking about right now. We're talking about the flesh, right? It says, which are idolatry. You can serve other gods when you use Jesus, all those other gods. That's idolatry right there. Fornication and all that means you don't believe in this truth.
Carrying that
You know what I'm
cross.
saying? If you don't believe in what he said, you don't believe in this truth. Fornication go out a lot of ways, not just the way the word says fornication. Okay, uncleanness, anything unclean he tell you, don't eat swine, don't eat pork, all that stuff plays a part in that. So we got to break down this, you know what I'm saying, a lot of precept on precept, right? He said lasciviousness is your dress code. When you dress like a whore, all this and that, lasciviousness is showing your nakedness, this and that. So he's telling you lasciviousness is part of that. So we have to break it down to understand all these words that's manifested in the flesh. You see like a woman, you know, dressed all kind of ways, this and that, that's lasciviousness. You'll see a Christian that read church and just read the same book, then go to the beach with a bathing suit on. That's blasphemy. You know what I'm saying? Because right here in the Bible, you just read about here telling you about not how you dress. Lasciviousness, you're supposed to show your nakedness to nobody. Rather, you got curves, you're tight clothes, none of that. You don't supposed to do any of that. That's lasciviousness. He says idolatry. Idolatry is still like worshiping people, things, places, all that. Before you, like brother said, if you don't pick up the word, but you do everything else, that he's jealous of that.
That's right.
Okay, he said witchcraft. When you go, like for example, you go concerning demons to answer a question for you, go looking for a spiritual thing, like they have them at the fairs and the carnival, stuff like that. You go, somebody read the palm of your hand, all that's witchcraft. When you cursing people, you put a curse on people, that's witchcraft. All that is part of the scripture, what he's saying. He said, hatred, vengeance, all that hatred you got in your heart, you don't love your brother and sister, all that play a part. You hate your brother standing right next to you, but you say you love your sight, which you can't even see with your spiritual. But your brother in your face right next to you, you hate him. You always got a problem with him, you hate him, you hate him, you hate him. Also, in marriage, you say, when you divorce your husband, you're still supposed to respect and love him as a brother or sister. No one hate your heart against your brother or your sister, they still your brother or sister in marriage. Even though y'all divorced and separated, you still supposed to love him, but we hate him. I hate that. So he did this, that. That's right here in the Bible. None of that. He says hatred, vengeance, all that's variance, all that stuff, mutilations, strife, sedition, hearsays, always hearsays in your mouth. You got somebody hearsays talking about every drummer in the world. You got a drummer. You pick up the phone, you talk about drama, but you ain't reading now scripture. You're not using no clean word to help nobody. You always talking about your brother and sister. You always got something negative to talk about. No, go back to the scripture and justify what you're saying about that brother and sister. Don't just speak your mouth. Yeah, they did you wrong, but you still gotta love them. You still have to love them. You got something, sis?
Yes. I'm just gonna say all that you brought up is the work of the flesh.
The work in the flesh. I'll put it.
It's just the
That's the
work.
word. And that's why I want to break down how it works of the flesh. You know what I'm saying? That's your flesh. That's why that image with the Most High.
It go deeper in Romans 1, verse 26 too.
Can I go there?
Oh yeah, you can go there. If you don't mind, brother. Romans 1, 25. We're gonna start at 25 and go all the way to 31. This is what all that flesh doing. This what the world is turning into. Even people past that they keep resounding in their mind, in their heart, and thinking about it. That's why he said, cast it down, rebuke. But this is what the flesh calls out. He says, who changed the truth of Yahweh into a lie and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. So be it. Romans 1, verse 25.
Can you go up to verse 24? Because there again is that uncleanness.
Oh, this, okay, I go there. He says, okay, we're gonna go carry it up, if brother don't mind, if you don't mind. It says, we're gonna go up to 22. It says, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. 21? Yeah, well, I have my hand right there on 21. Yes. Because that, we're on 21, Romans 1. It says, because that, everyone has it, because that when they knew Yahweh, they glorified him not as Yahweh, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Being not in the truth, that was happening. You turn to that. You turn over to a reprobated mind state. It says, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible Yahweh into an image made like a corruptible man. Yeah, image can mean anything. Like, brother, we probably talk about the Nikes you worshiping that could be a god, a shoe, or your polo clothes, or that cross. Carrying that cross, that means you're still the same. A lot of people put that cross on their neck and think, okay, I'm a part of something. He was on a tree. Say nothing about no cross. He was hung on a tree. Scripture proves that. It says, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible Yahweh into an image made like to an uncorruptible man, to birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. Wherefore Yahweh also gave them up to uncleanness through their lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves. I say that a lot of people can do a lot of things, a lot of disrespectful things. My brother used to speak on, remember you had a sermon, you spoke about Molech, just about the ejaculation coming off and doing things like that. You serving Molech, you're giving that to Molech. It says, wherefore Yahweh also gave them up to uncleanness through their lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, masturbation and so forth, who changed the truth of Yahweh to a lie, and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever, so be it. It says, for this cause Yahweh gave them up unto vile affections. For even their women did change their natural use into that which is against nature. Women with women.
They start right there, Captain. Now you got Christianity that they allow a gay pastor, a preacher, a gay man, no matter who it is, a gay person to come in and sing and this and that. Yeah. That person will sit down because they're unclean. They're a foul. They come to the sanctuary. So they come to the sanctuary. Christianity let them take a position. They'll go to a church knowing the person gay and let him preach this word. That's blasphemy right there. And that's what he's talking about. They change the truth of how you tell a lie. And that's a lie for you. How did not tell you to do that? And especially in the sanctuary.
You know, and I know you can attest to this, just like we can all. The majority of the churches in Christianity, there are gay leaders all over.
Oh, that's true.
The gay leaders.
Every church I done went to, the singers, the singing choir, the talking, the ones that doing singing the choir, they always be funny. They always be funny.
Even the pastor.
Yeah, and the pastor be funny, or the pastor is funny even with his wife. You know, they funny. They like scrap arms. You know, they can go on and on. You done heard it. It done came out in public. It done came out views on TV and everything. It says, for this cause Yahweh gave them up to vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was met, shameful, penalty, and due. That's just added to that. That's what it has. It says, and even as they did not like to retain Yahweh in their knowledge, Yahweh gave them over to a reprobated mind to do those things which are not convenient.
You understand what reprobated mind means?
But you can explain it. Go ahead.
Reprobated mind means that he went ahead and let them believe that. So that's why it's hard for you to tell them they're doing wrong. That's why a gay person, hey, this ain't wrong, this and that, this and that. I got a lot of brothers that they gay, they get blessed, this and that. Their mind, their reprobated mind, they've been cursed with that mind. They're going to believe in that lie.
Wait, what scripture is
No matter
that?
what you say, it's in Romans 1.
Romans 1:28.
Romans 1.
The reprobated mind being, he transformed them over to, he says, and even did they not retain a higher in their knowledge. A higher gave them over to a reprobated mind, so he gave them over to a reprobated mind that they won't believe. He said, gave them over to a reprobated mind to do those things
which are not
so that was
convenient.
his hand on them. They're not going to believe nothing you say to them, how many times you preach to them. He turned them over to a reprobated mind. They know better. They know the law. They changed this law of truth into a lie. So he turned them over to a reprobated mind. So a lot of people you can't get through to. Because that's his doing. Talk to them all day long, gay people, listen, you talk all day long, they're going to look at you crazy, they're going to say, no, they're going to believe in that spirit of evil, that gay stuff, they're going to believe in it, no matter how many times you preach to them. All you do is pray for them and stay away from them.
3 more verses, brother, because brother get back to Philip.
Who is, what organization is the leader of Christianity? The Catholic Church. And what did the Pope say? Homosexuality.
Oh yeah. It's not a sin. Yeah, it's not a sin. He just said that this week. He said that this week. Yeah, on CNN, on the news, look on your phone. They brought it out. And he got his face sitting there.
So, the reason I'm asking, because they're, in uncleanness, I'm not captivated by religion. I'm here about the truth, and so I want to get a really good understanding. So in Genesis 2 and 9, at the beginning, and brother, I would like you to clarify with me, but first I wanted to just get clarity on the tree of knowledge.